How do you plan a book?
You know, I'm not one of these people who works out the plot on the page. I have to know what I'm going to write before I sit down and write it, and sometimes I've thought about it for a few weeks, and sometimes it's a few years.
Writers are either architects or gardeners. I'm definitely a gardener, casting seeds to the wind. I don't plan things out ahead of time. I get an idea that won't leave me, and I just play with it, you know, until I see where it goes.
I never do any planning on paper or on a spreadsheet or whatever. I just think about it.
Planning a book's very difficult, I find. I think books, for me, begin with a very broad, overarching idea.
I start off with an idea, or a couple of ideas, or an image and an idea, and it's something that asks me a question. And then I think, why is that happening? How is that happening? Who is that happening with or to, or why? And then the book itself is a kind of exploration towards the answer of that.
Over a period of time, idea will develop, and I'll pick it up and look at it and think about how it might be used. Then I get to know the characters whose story this might be, and eventually it starts to take shape.
Before I start writing, I always come up with how am I going to tell this story and who is going to tell this story.
To have the end mapped out when you're only halfway through, gosh, that would be so boring. And so I like to let it take its own course, and what seems natural will be and evolve will be the end.
I always start with the conflict. If I can find something meaty enough that I'm really excited about, then I can figure out what characters I think will be most challenged by that particular conflict, and then that's what I want to dive in and write about.
I'm a great believer in a mix of planning and spontaneity. Spontaneity side of it, I mean quite seriously, is that if you don't surprise yourself, then you ain't going to surprise your readers. But I do like to have a structure. So the way I operate is I tend to plan out the key high points of my book and the ending.